Okay. If anybody has that up, if you can tell me that you can hear me. Okay. Everyone else say something. Okay. That should be okay, right? Okay. Try it again with yours. I tested on my end. I feel like I heard everyone else. Did it mess me up again because I did an auto thing? Here, let me see. Let me check the audio properties here. Might have decided to. This is its auto setup, right? Audio. Nope, it says it's right. What if I put it on default? Oh no, that's mine. That should be okay. How about now? Try it now.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
Yeah,
testing.
How's that?
Now we're good.
Because I see the bar when you talk. I see the bar when I talk too, but I'm on a different bar. So
Yeah.
how is it now? Is everybody okay? Let me go see if I can.
Yeah.
Wow, that was confusing.
See if
Hearing the echo of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all coming through, including me scraping my plate. So I'm going to mute myself when I do that.
All right, perfect.
And your weekly Hikaru
Okay.
ASMR.
Hey,
That's the
whatever it
problem with
takes.
bamboo plates. They're noisy.
I'll tell you what, if I advertised this stream as an ASMR D&D stream, we'd probably get suddenly 500 listeners.
Yeah.
Cat purring and plate scraping.
Cat purring and plate scraping sounds like the most interesting experience.
All right, so here is, okay, I guess I should do an intro. I am DM Samuel. I am your host for this evening's festivities, and I am here with my players, and they will introduce themselves in this order. How about Nina first?
Hello, I'm Nina, and I play Emran Ornestra, who is a human storm cleric.
And Matthew.
Hello, I'm Matt. I'm playing Konos Lendaf, the Sea Elf Warlock.
And David.
I'm David, and I play Axley Tillingquest, a halfling bard.
And Karu.
Hi, I'm Karu, and I am playing Marcel Duran, the Lutrinian storm sorcerer.
And Earl.
Earl says hi.
Yeah.
Earl as himself.
Earl as himself.
Yeah.
Earl as the cat in the library.
Yeah. The library cat. Yes, that is something. Okay, so do we want to do a quick 10-minute debrief?
Sure. Do you have a topic loaded?
Well, so I was listening to the last episode, and it dawned on me, and the reason I was listening to it, I was listening to just the last half hour, and the reason I was listening to the last half hour is because I needed to remind myself what exactly was said to the players from the queens. And I had to take notes because I didn't take very good notes last time for whatever reason. Typically, by the end of the session, I have quit taking very good notes by then. So one of the topics that I actually thought of was, what the heck would I do if this wasn't recorded? Like, how would I have done that? And the answer is the same as when I play in a face-to-face game, which is I just take better notes throughout and all that. But because I have this recording now, I kind of rely on it a little bit.
I was going to say, you take notes?
I do take notes. Yeah, I do take notes. Because I need to remember exactly what I said to you, right? Because I don't want to have a discontinuity thing unless it's on purpose. So, and I do have some of those that are on purpose, which means if there's an accidental one, that's a problem. So here was my point with bringing this up was I was wondering how you all take notes and if you do.
Sure.
Kind of already answered.
Karu takes 2 sentences of notes every session.
Yeah. I take notes like I did in college, which is not nearly enough.
Okay.
They're just cram notes. That's barely enough to get the key questions, but I leave way too much out. So I generally I have my notepad open on the computer, and I'll just type in key names or things that'll trigger a memory if they're very specific, but I don't do a verbose flowing narrative. Okay. And so that does hurt though, because I can remember a lot of the big movements, but not a lot of the stuff in between.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I'm the reverse. I try to literally transcribe like pretty much everything that goes on. Like I'm literally just stenographer, practically doing like a radio transcript, and even that gives me too much. Sometimes it's too much to go through. So sometimes there's times when I have to remind myself, okay, I don't need to write down every single word being said, because then then it's like, okay, I'm not really playing in the game. I'm just transcribing what everybody else is doing. Right. So it's like there's a really fine balancing point between, okay, making sure you're getting down important stuff to remember versus, okay, but still you're actually the one playing in the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I found myself, like when I have to go back and reference stuff, it can be hard to. I've gotten the practice now of all my notes are going on Google Docs. So if and when the next time my computer crashes, fingers crossed that never happens again, but it probably will at some point. Yeah. There's at least a cloud copy backup that I'll have access to. Because like I told you, like about a month ago, my computer crashed. I lost almost all my notes for this campaign. So I've been rebuilding those bit by bit. So it's a matter of just saying, okay, I try to limit it to main characters, important NPCs, important locations, a little bit of elaboration if I think it's necessary, but I've tried to break myself out of the habit of of having to write down literally every word that's said, because probably 75% of things that I write down are, I mean, it's fun to go back and read through later, but it's not really helpful.
Mm-hmm. And Nina?
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's how I started. Because I was obviously brand new to D when we started, and I didn't know what was going to be important, what wasn't. So I transcribed everything, and then I kind of got that same feeling. I was like, well, I kind of want to play the game too. I got to look up for my notebook at some point. Yeah. So note taking for me on a personal level has always been very easy. I feel like I'm very lucky in that manner. Taking notes in college has always been really rhythmic, really, like, I know what I am going to remember and I know what I need to write down. Like, it started taking on, like, a very natural flow, and I feel like my notes are, like, I really like my notes. So it's enough detail that can, like, jog my memory, and, like, I'll remember what happened, but it's not too much that I'm, like, constantly writing. I feel like when we get into a scene, like, for a couple of scenes, I'm not, mine's blanking, but I just, like, didn't even take notes because I was too focused on the story. Like, those are also the scenes where I can, like, replay it in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So it's playing as a character. I think my note taking is, like, decent for me on a personal level, and I think it is different for everybody. DMing, on the other hand, I've been struggling with, just because I feel like I'm trying to manage, like, players and, like, them engaged and keep the story moving and keep everything that I have in my, like, pre-notes on the table and, like, keep track of everything. Then I don't write down, like, what I told the characters. That's hasn't, like, been an issue yet. I have a bad feeling it's going to come back to bite me, but that's kind of, like, part of the learning process as well. So, like, my players are also really chill about it. So, like, if I ask them, like, hey, what exactly did I tell you about this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, we talked about this, that, and the other. So that's also good, is just having, like, the players, like, recount it and, like, doing a recap at the beginning. Like, they'll start retelling details that they thought were important, and I kind of, like, jot those down. So that's kind of, like, out of game before the game really starts.
That's actually that's part of the reason I ask for a recap, and I usually ask one of you to do it, because that tells me what you remember. I know sometimes you're, like, going off your own notes and whatnot, but part of the reason that I do that, and I do it in my face-to-face games too, because even if they meet weekly, because I want to know what you remembered enough to either write a note about, or what you remember about enough to mention it, right? And some things, like, because in part it tells the DM, like, what's exciting or interesting to that player, or what was an interesting scene to that player, so you can kind of put that in the databanks and go on. The reason I take notes as a DM is partly because I want to make sure I remember what I told you, but partly because I do a lot of improv as I'm doing it. My improv is based on a framework of knowing, like, okay, well, I know there's going to be these NPCs, and I know kind of their motivations, but I don't know like, I don't have a canned, like, oh, here's exactly what they know, and here's what they should tell the players, right? Or the PCs. So when I do have a conversation, I have to kind of remember, oh yeah, this is what I said, and that's important that person said it that way because whatever. Um, and and if I think of something on the fly and I just kind of improv through it, if it ends up being an important fact that you end up asking more about, I definitely write it down, because it probably wasn't in my notes beforehand, hence it being improv. But that doesn't always, like, sometimes I have prep notes where I had said, okay, here's something that they need to find out this session or whatever, which is a different kind of thing. But then I write down a little note about how you responded to it, right? So there's always different, it kind of depends on the situation how I take the notes about that particular thing.
I think my main problem is I'm spoiled, because the first time that I would do role playing, we were doing text role play. So we always had the texts of our past role plays. So if we had any questions about, like, what happened here, we had an actual archive of what had happened.
Right.
And the person that I RP'd with the most has a nearly photographic memory of everything that happens in any game. I can ask her right now what happened in that game 20 years ago, and she'll go, "Oh, this happened," and I'll be like, "How do you?"
Yeah.
And she's still in my games, so I kind of depend on her, and the fact that, yeah, now that we're playing D&D on stream, everything is recorded. So if I really need to look something up, I can go back, and I kind of rely on that fact and don't really take any notes. At the same time, because I do that, but then I rarely actually go back, and mostly just depend on my players to tell me. And, like, sometimes, like Nina said, it does bite you in the ass, because, like, it happened in a recent session where they were doing a mechanic for learning language, and I had told them how the mechanic was going to work. I never wrote it down. So then the following session that happened a month later, they were like, so how did it work again? And I'm like, I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I think that's happened to everybody, right? Yeah. I mean, part of the reason I take notes as a DM and as a player, when I'm a player, I take notes too. But part of the reason I take notes as a DM is because I also have a very strong muscle memory connection. So if I write something by hand, I'm much more likely to remember it without looking at my notes or by just glancing and without having to read them verbatim. Whereas if that's part of the reason why I don't type notes. If I typed them, I don't have that muscle memory. I just have a memory. Oh, I typed something, big deal. Like it doesn't do the same thing for me. So that's part of that too. But yeah,
My other
that
issue is,
forgetting
as a
things.
DM, it's really complicated for me to, like, I'm already juggling so much between
Mhm.
watching my players on the cams, watching what's happening on the VTT. I have 15 different PDFs that I have to like scroll through because it's harder than flipping through pages. And you want me to take notes?
Yeah.
I only have
Yeah.
2 screens.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's like you got the
Yeah.
job of being, narrator, storyteller,
Mhm.
improv thing on the fly, reacting to what players doing. Yeah, like I said, plus,
Right.
oh, now you've got the engineer's job to make sure your website's
Mhm.
working, your stream is not having
And I don't even have to worry
problems.
about the stream myself, but I do sometimes keep an eye on the chat, though I generally have someone else do that for
Mhm.
me. But even then, like sometimes it comes to the point where I'm not taking notes. I'm just looking things up because someone's already mentioned something and I know they're going to ask me in 2 seconds.
Mhm.
And I miss another question that happened in the meantime or something that they've
Mhm.
wanted to react to an NPC. And I was off looking at some PDF and I'm like, sorry, can you repeat yourself? Because like that'll happen already. So like no time for notes on my end.
Yeah. You run a lot of published material as well, which is
Yeah.
very, very different from what I'm doing here. So I have that same problem if I run published material because I try to be as true to the
Mhm.
published word as I can. And so if somebody asks a question and I think to myself, I know I read that in this section, I need to look at that before I answer. I don't just want to improv that answer because I know there's a written answer. Then I have to go look that thing up. It's the same kind of issue, right? Like that's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
It
Every
takes
time we're
some,
playing
yeah,
Forgotten Realms,
yep,
I'm like Googling on the other tab.
right,
They're like, oh, this symbol is of the God
yeah,
Saloon. What do I know about the
right,
God Saloon? Google
yeah,
Saloon, Forgotten Realms.
Yeah,
right,
it's like
right,
do you want to just kind of improv something in that moment to kind of keep things rolling, or do you want to say, okay, well, let me stop everything and maybe take 5 minutes to actually Google that one or search up that one little
right,
detail?
right.
Yeah.
Balancing act.
And
It's
honestly,
almost like
oh, go ahead.
it's almost like you need a TA
Yeah,
for
you
in
do.
this
You
environment.
need
Like
an assistant DM. Yeah.
I was gonna say, there's this stream I've seen. It's like D4D or something like that. It's a group in Atlanta. They actually have co-DMs.
Oh, nice.
And
Wow.
the few times I've watched it, and they're running like Waterdeep Dragon Heist, but the few
Hmm.
times I've watched it, they do a remarkable job of being cohesive storytellers, and it's like they obviously they have probably have pre-session meetings to say, okay, here's
Hmm.
what DMA is going to do, and here's what DMB is going to do as
Right.
far as whether it's rules management, whether it's storytelling, whether it's running combat, and I'm sure they collaborate quite a lot on that. It's really fascinating to watch. It's
Right.
something I want to try to just get more in depth with.
See,
That.
and in the chat, the one person that I always depend on has already told me what my rules for learning the language was.
Thank you. I'm going to write that down because I was actually because I'm in that game and I was actually wondering that last session.
I, it's funny. That's part of the reason why I don't run a lot of published stuff because I get really hung up on trying to do it, quote, right, and trying to present it as the writer intended for the most part. And so if somebody asks a question, I always have to go to the book first rather than just like that's a me problem, right? Like that's just the way I am. If I'm going to run that thing that's published, I'm going to run it the way that it was mostly written, at least the first time. And then once I've run it if it's like a smaller kind of scenario. Once I've run it once, now I know how it flows. I can kind of feel better about it, and and it depends on how much I know about the world. So yeah, there's a lot of different topics that are couched in that particular main topic. So, well, so let's move on then. I think that's kind of a natural good end to that conversation. Let's move on and start the session. So who can do a recap?
We did a lot of talking with the queens, and then at the very end, we went to the library. There's my 2 session notes.
And did we end just gaining entry to the library?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we learned that. So yeah, so there's 2 queens. We had an interesting diplomatic encounter that kind of got a little awkward at times. Because they were asking Marcel, do you really represent your people or not? And Marcel kind of went back and forth of, well, yes, I do, but no, I don't really want to. And so they kind of weren't really sure how to even treat us for a little bit. I made a note, there was one point we kind of upset a couple of their high priests by talking about their worship of Straben and kind of some of our own individual deities or religious views and whatnot. There was one point where Bolum kind of said, "That's not Delancey," and I'm like, "Oh, do I want to jump headfirst into that roaring fire?" And I think I kind of tried to, and I think that's a lesson. It's like situations like that. It's like I want to, but it's like, yeah, how much do I really want to cause you in a diplomatic incident here when we just got here? So yeah, we talked more about our own theories for about what caused the sinking, and Alan, what's his name?
Which one?
The really old guy that we fought and killed. Now I can't remember. Oh my god. The guy we fought in the Shadow Plane in the cathedral.
Oh,
Larilac?
Laralac?
Thank you, Laralac.
Yeah.
Good lord. Yeah, write that name down
Oh,
5
he's
times.
only the
so I don't
main
forget it.
villain.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. I mean, you talking about muscle. I'm gonna write it down 5 times so I remember it now. Yeah, and so there was the whole. We got into the whole, it's like we spent a lot of time kind of tiptoeing around, potential theories and conspiracies, not wanting because we fall into the trap of, well, we're talking with really powerful people. We don't know of how much we can trust them, and we don't necessarily want to know how much we can safely reveal, and then it just leads to really awkward situations.
And they
like
don't
that.
trust us, so they're not going to be
Exactly, yeah.
forthcoming either. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually they said, yeah, you can stay here, you can get access to the library, which was kind of restricted as I recall. But they were kind enough to let us go there. So I think we were heading to there, and then you would have asked us if, Sam, if we were bringing the Book of Proofs and if we were bringing Blacksley along on our way there. Oh, and there was a dragon.
Oh yes, the dragon.
Yes.
But
No,
even them now, in hindsight, even them granting us access to the library is very passive aggressive in a way, because now that we know how difficult it was to get into the library, and them just saying, "Oh, sure, you can go use the library," without offering to give us a guide or any instruction, that's pretty much akin to saying, "Yeah, if you could get in."
Yeah, sure, you can go there. It's up to you if you can get in, though. But yeah, they mentioned they've been having trouble with a dragon that we might potentially be called upon to help sort out as well.
Because what did you learn about the storm wyverns?
They were supposed to be helpful. They've helped them in the past, so it's kind of odd that we ran into the 2 young ones that were so aggressive towards us, and that it has to do with the dragon, and they're kind of overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. And what was the fact about the dragon that was puzzling? There was something interesting about the dragon itself that is.
Wasn't it 2 elements?
It had
was
red
2,
and
yeah.
green scales.
Red and green scales. Yeah, I was going to say red and blue, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, and that was a really good recap. That was pretty much it. You questioned them about why everyone was being quarantined. They shot back with, "How come you don't believe in Straben?" And yeah, so there was a little bit of push pull there. Um, Konos asked, uh, or maybe it was Axley actually that asked about if the queens recognized the name Betet of Calport, and they indicated yes. Betet is a famous poet who has now been deceased for many years. He died before the sinking, so he was a pre-sinking poet. And Konos asked if the name Bolam held any meaning for them, and their response was that Bolam is a common name in their family line. So that was not helpful.
Yeah.
And then you went to the library. So
And we
the
signed
question,
in.
say that again.
I said where we signed in, or Emmerich
Right.
did.
Emmerin signed in. So, but the question actually it's on the table is, so before you go to the library, I basically said you can say that you're going back to the ship to get whatever you want. You don't have to go directly from the royal house to, from the royal court to the library. Oh, the other thing the queen said were that you will have, because Marcel is recognized as royalty, you have accommodations in the court.
Oh, right. Yeah, we
In
got
the royal,
rooms.
yeah, in the royal mansion, in the royal manor. And so you have people that will attend to you there. But what I had said was you can go back to the boat and get whatever you want, and you can determine if you want to take Blacksley with you, and you can determine if you want to take the Book of Proofs with you, and you can determine if you want to take anything else with you into the library. So you might want to make those decisions.
Well, the Book of Proofs probably we want to take, right? Because when your initial vision, that's where it came from. That was its original its original spot.
A little different now.
Mhm.
I do think I'd mentioned that I did go back to the ship to get a piece of amethyst
That's right.
at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
We were
I think, important.
We'd also talked about bringing some of these other books that we got from Werelax, own collections. I think some of them may have indicated they came from here,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
or we were talking about maybe donating them.
I want to bring the translation we made of our answer in the Book of Proofs because I think that's going to guide me in some further research.
Okay.
We're all avoiding talking about Blacksley.
Oh yeah. Well, who wants to keep an eye on him? We're going to be busy researching, right? We don't want him disappearing in the library.
You don't? Okay. I mean, you can leave him, on the ship.
I would say, yeah, I kind of want him to just stay back and keep an eye on my mom.
You just went silent, Imran.
Yeah, I lost audio too. Now you're back.
Okay.
Just dropped out.
Yeah. You want him to stay back and keep an eye on your mom?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, unless anybody has any objections to that, I think that can be arranged.
He seems to be doing a pretty good job of taking care of your mom.
No. I don't know how I feel about that. But guess it's a good thing at this point, so we'll go with it. Unless he doesn't steal my journal again.
Just leave the Revenant with your mom. It's fine.
When you put it that way, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you go into the library, and the entryway is, I believe I mentioned this at the end of the episode last time, or at the end of the session last time, but the entryway, the outside look of the library was exactly as it was in Imran's dream. The entryway was exactly as it was. So the outside main entrance has 2 enormous wooden doors that are made from a single hand hewn from a single piece of wood, and it has words. It has a picture of a parchment on it carved into it, and the words "All seekers welcome," and then "Come as you are." That's on the door, along with 3 wavy lines. And then in the entryway, it's a relatively large room. It's about 30 feet by 40 feet, and it's all stone other than the wooden doors. Excuse me. And there's a large stone reception desk a few feet from the entrance. Behind the desk, there's a wall with an enormous bas relief of hooded figures reading and writing. There's a stone statue standing behind the desk, pointing at a book. The book contains the rules of the library, and the rules are exactly the rules as Imran remembers them in her dream state. And the rules are: no item is to be removed from the premises. Copies can be made manually with your own parchment, or services can be provided, it says. If you need help, just call on Tavros, and please sign in to the right. And at the end of last session, Imran signed in with the name.
The daughter of Gorath.
Yes.
Mhm.
And after she signed in, the doors behind the reception desk sort of slide back and apart, and they reveal an entryway / lobby area. And so if you all step into that, I will tell you what you see. If you all step in, the doors will close behind you.
Mhm.
So if you don't want the doors to close behind you, don't step in if there's anything else you want to do in the room currently.
At this point, I think we're just following Emerin.
Okay. Okay. All right, then let me pull up my little information. So this room has the enormous stone double doors behind you that slid back. When you walk into this room, those slide closed and forward again. And this room is probably 50 feet by 40 feet, so it's an enormous, pretty much every space in this library so far has felt enormous. The outside of the building is huge as well. It's about 500 by 400 feet, which is probably one of the largest buildings you've ever seen, if not the largest. This room itself is very large. It has lit candles on small shelves all around the edges. There's an ornate podium, sort of kind of like a standing desk podium thing in the southeast corner. There's a brass bell on the podium and an enormous book sitting on the podium. And then all along the other walls are like bench seats, but they're all made of stone. So it's kind of a waiting room kind of area. And there are doors behind you that you just came through, and then there's also one on the to your left and to your right, and also in front of you. And the podium is on the southeast corner. Is it southeast or southwest? It is on the southeast corner.
The door we came in through is what?
It's
cardinal
behind
direction?
you, which is north.
North. Okay, so we're like going south
You're going
into
south.
the building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's a door in each cardinal direction, basically.
Mm.
And there's nobody else here besides us.
No one but you in this room.
Well, is anything written on the walls?
Nope.
Next to the doors? No.
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna go.
I want to look at podium,
Okay.
book and the bell.
The podium, the book has a black leather cover, and On the front, it says catalog. The bell is just a simple small brass bell.
I'm assuming the doors are closed, right?
All the doors are closed, yes. They are
Hmm.
wooden.
I'm gonna open up the catalog book and just kind of turn a couple pages and see what's in there.
Okay. So the front page, it's a list, and it just says topic, and then to the right of that it says location, and it's this enormous list of topics. And for example, it starts anatomical, then goes arcane, then divine, and then fauna far near plateau, flora far near plateau, history far near, history cultural, history. In other words, it's a listing of topics, okay? And the location lists things like auditorium, theater, stacks, maze B, stacks A, stacks D. So I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna pop that in Discord real quick. So that you can see it. I meant to have this ready for you, and then I didn't. So there's that in the, there's a topic list. So for the benefit of the audience, I don't know. I'm not sure it's helpful to read this out loud to the audience, but if you're all looking at it anyway, I might as well. The topic anatomical says it's located in the auditorium, the theater, and the ossuary. Arcane is in maze B. Divine is in the chapel and maze C. Fauna far near in plateau. It says pins, stacks L and stacks M. Flora far near in plateau. It says statuary, stacks I and stacks K. History far and near. It says stacks B, stacks A. History culturals in stack C. Military histories in stack D. Fictional histories in stack J. Infernal, it says reaches B. Martial, it says maze A. Primordial, reaches J. Scribes are in the vats and reaches A. Sounds are in maze D. Speech is in maze E. Time is in the planetarium and reaches M. And then topography, far near and plateau, are in stacks P, stacks O, stacks N, and the planetarium.
How tall is the podium?
It's probably 3-4 feet tall. It's not enormous or like made for a giant or anything, but it's made for a standard size human.
So I put my hands on the edge and go, so is there any map in there? Because I'm 4 feet tall. She's like, oh.
Yeah, you and me both.
I'll just literally just pick the book up and just kind of bring it down. So here we go.
It won't come off the podium.
Interesting.
All right.
They really need to like put like a stool for tiny people. So inconsiderate.
As you say that, a stone stool appears next to you.
Oh, okay.
It's about 1.5 feet tall.
Convenient. I'm just like looking around. I wonder if that means you can just say where you want to go and you'll get led there and you don't need a map.
Or maybe you can speak what you're looking for.
Yeah, what are we looking to begin with?
I kind of want to try something. So, I remember when we were back in like the Raven Queen's temple or whatever. Like I asked Goros to guide us out, and I kind of like tranced and just like walked.
Mhm.
It kind of happened in the dream I had about being here, and I don't want to try it again. Keep tabs, because I couldn't find a way out in my dream.
Oh,
In your dream,
well,
I will point out to you that in your
My
dream,
dream.
when the doors opened, they opened into a room that had shelves and books and tables.
Oh,
They
weird.
didn't open into this lobby area. So this is the first piece that you've seen that was not in your dream.
Sure.
but it's not encouraging that they actually call their areas where they store their books mazes.
Yeah.
It's
or,
kind of
or reaches.
Mm, things to get lost in.
Hey, to be fair, a bunch of stacks of books can become a maze when there's that many books. I don't think it's necessarily meant to be like intentionally obtuse necessarily, unless that is a point, and more like navigating that place is a maze for anyone who's not familiar with it.
Well, the only way to find out is to settle on a topic and try to go through the motions of locating it. Anyone have any ideas?
I want to
We-
quick just walk around to the other doors and just see if they're labeled at all. Like this way to the stacks, this way to the planetarium, or anything else like that.
Um, yes. So on the door to the east, there is a label, and the label says B, like a capital letter B, and it's in a very old script. The door to the west says A, also in a very old script, and then it says comma in, the letter in. The door to the south says C, comma M. Yeah. So not in alphabetical order.
open the door to the east.
Are you telling someone to, or are you doing it?
Do it.
Okay. The door swings open very easily, and it opens into a very large room that has let me get an appropriate description for you. Why do I not have that right here? Okay. It has a display case to the north that it has shelves on it, and those shelves contain hundreds of large pieces of what look like corkboard with all manner of small flying insects pinned to it, covering up the entire northern wall, which is about 50 feet long. To the south, the room opens out about 40 feet, and there are shelves of books lining the entire walls, and also a couple in the center of the room. And in between those, there are big tables with rolls of parchment and little vials of ink and quills on them. Out of this room, there is a door on the eastern wall, but it's in the south part of the wall, so it's a rectangular room. And there's a door on the southern wall. There's the door that you just opened. And there are various archways that do not have doors in them. One of them leads to the east, one leads to the west, one leads to the south. You can see through those archways lots and lots and lots of shelves of books.
I feel like the best is to just pick something and see if we can find it.
I mean, that the insects appear to be what pins refers to, right? Under the fauna section of the index, it says that they're partially located in pins.
Yeah, those pins are PENS, which is either writing pins or animal pins. Pins that you pin a butterfly with is PINS.
Anybody have a preference? You can also ring the bell. What happens?
And also remember the fourth rule was, oh no, the third rule was if you need help, call on Tavros.
Tavros. Well, before we ask anyone for help, we might want to figure out what we want to do first.
Yeah.
Because it'll depend on that. What do we want to look for first?
What's at the top of the list?
Anatomical.
I don't think that matches our list, though.
I think. I mean, I've got things. I would want to find out as much about either the blue plateau, the threefold lake, or the soul spire as possible. So I'm thinking that's going to be in arcane. Or,
I mean, it could also be. I'm not sure what they mean by plateau, but okay. So we could start with looking for more information about the Soul Spire. And then ask Tavros for help finding that information.
Place to start.
Definitely better than getting lost in the world's largest library.
Yeah. I mean, Laralac, right, is a place to start, I guess.
See if there's any entries under his name.
Yeah.
Sure, if we checked history, we probably might find something on him. All right, I'll go back to the last room. I'm just going to pick up the bell and give it a little ring.
Okay. After about 20 seconds, a very short humanoid creature opens the door from the south, from that room that you're in. Did everybody else go back to that room too, or did you all stay in the other room to the east?
I probably was still there, just like peeking into the other room, but not going.
They said, "Yes, what would you like to snack on today?"
Oh, you have food. Oh, I'm sorry. We were looking. Well, anybody else hungry? I don't want to just send them away.
Staying at the palace, but maybe something to drink. Reading is thirsty work. Just some ale.
Very well. And he snaps his fingers and disappears. And then about 20 seconds later, you hear another snap, and he reappears, and he's carrying in front of him, he's got his arms wrapped around as big as him almost, a little keg. And it has 4 glasses at the top, 4 steins at the top. And he sort of goes, and he kind of sets it down next to the podium.
Oh, let me give you a hand with that. That looks heavy.
Oh, thank you. It's my job. No worries. What else can I get for you today?
I think that's it.
Well, where's where is Maze B? Trying to find a few books about some arcane matters.
I've never been there.
Oh,
I think we should ask Tavros.
aren't aren't you Tavros?
Oh, no.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
That's
Mistaken
okay. I'm the
identity.
library caterer.
Okay. Where's Tavros?
You have to call on him. And he snaps his fingers and he's gone.
I mean, considering I just said I need a stool and the stool showed up, I think you just call on him.
Excuse me, Tavros?
So as you say that, you see a sort of almost like smoke sort of waft in from nowhere. It just sort of wafts in from the ceiling, but there's no like entryway from the ceiling that it could be coming from. And it takes it about 20 seconds, but it coalesces into a human-sized, robed, humanoid-shaped creature. He has a hood on that is such a extensive cowl that it's covering his entire face. So you don't really see a face behind the cloak hood. But he sort of, when he's finished appearing, he says, "What do you need?"
We're looking for materials on the arcane. Can you tell us how to get to the maze, please?
You must travel south and then enter the printing machine room or the auditorium. Go down the stairs, travel more south, beyond the beehive, into the main hall. You will see the maze.
Do you have a map of the library?
Yes, I do.
Can we
Can we-
borrow it?
It is in here.
Ah, interesting. So do you have any books in the arcane section about like a wizard or something named Lairlac?
Perhaps. Would you like me to check for you?
Yes, please.
I shall return. Feel free to do as you will. I will find you. And then
Okay.
he slowly disapparates into smoke and then is gone.
I feel like Marcel lost a few years in my voice today.
I get the impression this place is huge and a maze into itself. Wandering around it
Yeah.
without any direction could be effort and futility.
Yeah, I think I got the first half of that before I just kind of my brain fizzled and died.
He said
Yes,
go
I
through a
mean,
printing.
the weight of the building itself, you feel it. Like it is just vast. It's the kind of place that just feels huge. What he said was go south until you reach either the printing machine or the auditorium, and then go down the stairs, still continue south, past the beehive, and then you'll find the maze.
Up for a journey.
Well, might as well, right? At least he says he'll find us.
Yeah, might as well.
But first, it'd be a shame if all this went to waste, and I'll take a glass and fill it and quaff my thirst before we. Because it seems like it's going to be a bit of a walk.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably just fill up my cup, drink half of it, fill it up again, and go, okay, let's go.
It's very, very good ale.
Great.
Actually, you should try some of this. Pretty good.
All right, why not? We may have a very long walk ahead of us.
Mhm.
And running from bees.
Yes.
That's a little concerning.
Mm.
Okay. So do you?
Start heading south.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the door to the south opens easily. It's not locked. And it opens into a small 10-foot by 10-foot hallway where there is another door that leads into a room to the south. That room is almost exactly the same size as the lobby room you just came out of. It also has doors on the east, the west, and the south. The door to the east is labeled D, the letter D. The door to the west says Map Gallery, and to the south it says Main Hall.
Oh, so south.
Just heading south.
Nobody wants to go into the Map Gallery.
Maybe on the way back.
Okay. So south, the south door opens easily. You find yourself in a 10-foot wide hallway that goes down about 30 or 40 feet and then ends in a T. There's a door in front of you, and the hallway stretches off to the east and the west. You see doors at the end and also some arched passageways along the length of the hall. The door in front of you says auditorium.
One.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Looking for stairs at this point.
um,
As we're going on, I would say, ask everyone, Emerin, is any of this looking familiar to your dream?
I don't think so. Not yet.
so I should also probably point out in every hallway, if there are not bookshelves, there are display cases with various and sundry different collections of things. So, for example, in that other room, you'd seen the one with all of the different butterflies and other flying insects. There's also one, there was one that had different, like snake skins. There was one that had some different pieces of metal. So every hallway has something in it. It's not just a 10-foot wide, 10-foot long hallway piece that's blank. It's stuffed full in every direction that you look with things. And those things are either books or they are collections of things well organized on a shelf unit of some sort. Okay. And then you open the door into the auditorium, and this is a very, very large auditorium. It is probably about 70 by 70, and it has no bookshelves in it. Instead, on the south wall is a small stage with a lectern, a traditional lectern. And behind the lectern is a large blackboard. And around that small stage, which is kind of a half circle, there are benches, and each row is a few feet behind the other and a few feet higher than the one in front of it. And along the east and the west sides of the room are dozens and dozens of skeletons in glass cases. There is a door to the east. There's actually two doors to the east, one kind of in the middle of the room and one on the southern portion. There's a door to the west and there's a door to the south, along with the lectern and the skeletons.
Looking for stairs at this point.
Yeah, they're probably on behind the southern door, I'm guessing.
Yeah, like south was like kind of the general direction we were given. Just do any of these skeletons, like are these humanoid skeletons, or
There
can
are
you tell what they are?
all manner of skeletons. Quite a few of them are humanoid. Some of them are distinctly human. Some of them are definitely not human, although humanoid in shape. Some of them are other things. The lectern does have a book on it, and it is ornate. The lectern itself is ornate.
Take a quick look at the book on the lectern.
You notice that each corner of the book is open, and each corner of it is fastened to the lectern with a bolt. And as you sort of your eyes follow down, you see that the lectern itself is bolted to the floor. As you get closer to it to take a look at it, you kind of hear it creaking back and forth. The book is open, and the first page says, "The Marriage of the Rain and the Sea," an initiatory text. And then there's some more writing if you want to read it.
Yeah, I'll flip through a page or two.
It appears that this particular text is about the marriage of Goros and Straben. And it is the narrative of the story that talks about the combining of their power and how they elicit different responses from the divine energy that they both produce. Konos, give me a perception check, please.
Okay. That is a 21.
Okay. You notice as you move the pages and you're sort of glancing at the book, you notice that several of the skeletons that are in these glass cases kind of pivot their head towards you and are kind of almost looking at you. Just almost imperceptible, just barely.
That's concerning. Okay.
Also, the others of you that are sort of looking around as he's messing with the book, you notice that it's not just adult skeletons. There's also some child or young skeletons. There's also different sizes of the different other types of creatures, not just human.
Okay. As I notice this, I say, well, Emran, you might find this fascinating, but I think the audience here may not like us being in here, so maybe we should keep going.
Audience?
It's terrifying. I hate it.
Do you all see those skeletons kind of moving around, looking at me, looking at us?
Do we?
You can, well, now that he's mentioned it, if you pay attention to them a little bit more and he keeps flipping through the book, you will notice that they almost imperceptibly have moved their heads to pay attention to whoever's
Fascinating.
at the lectern.
Well, I mean, what are they going to do? They're skeletons inside a glass case. All they can do is watch us.
You've got an attentive crowd.
Yeah.
Akonis, roll me an intelligence check, please.
Okay.
Actually,
14.
a save, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Very different. Sorry. I didn't mean to mislead you.
Slight different connotation there.
Tiny
14.
Okay. You get the sense that this book would really, really, really like it if you switched to being a cleric instead of your current class.
Oh, okay.
What was happening?
It does not force you, but you get the sense. You know that if you read that book word for word, by the end of reading that book, you would be a cleric of either Goras or Straben.
I have so many regrets of not taking detect magic. But at the same time, I feel like you'd get a
I don't
massive
think I don't think
headache.
you need that spell.
Yeah, I'm gonna cast it because I have it. I'll cast detect magic. It's my one a day, so I'll do it. Yeah.
Uh,
Like I have this because that will give you at least what kind of magic is going on with different places, but at the same time I feel like this whole place is magical and it will probably give you the equivalent of a headache just from the amount of different auras showing up everywhere.
Strobe lights everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to step away from the book at the moment. I mean, plus this is the sort of lesser detect magic. It basically just says yes, it is, or no, it's not. It doesn't give me like what school or anything like that.
Okay. It just tells you if it's magical.
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you telling us like all this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yeah. So I mean, Emran, you might find this interesting. It talks about Goros and Straben. Oh, well, that's then he kind of starts to get the notion of, if he continues reading this too much, other things might happen.
Curiosity is getting the better of my fear of the skeletons. I'm gonna look at the book.
So, Konos, the magic on this book is so strong that even though you typically cannot tell the school of magic, you can tell that this has a dual abjuration and transmutation magical effect on it.
Okay. All right. Yep, you're right. Definitely magical.
Now, what is Imran doing?
I want to look at the book.
Okay.
And have I heard of this story, like the marriage of Goros and Straben?
So no, you have not heard of this particular piece of mythology. um, but if you, I mean, do you start to read it, or what? How are you investigating
I'm
the book?
curious.
Okay. So the marriage of the rain and the sea. So the it would take you a really long time to read the whole book. I mean, I'm assuming you
Yeah,
only
not
want
the
to
whole
spend a
thing.
couple minutes, but basically it tells a story of Goros and Straben in the before times when all that was in existence was the sun, the moon, the earth, and time. And Straben made water and left Goros. And Goros was upset. And Goros, in order to revisit Straben, created clouds and lightning and rain so that at least a portion of Goros could be returned to Straben because Straben left. Now, you're not getting the details of the story. You don't know why Straben left. You don't know what happened to make Straben leave or what happened with Goros beforehand, but that is supposedly you recognize this as a typical religious scriptural text that is explaining why there is a natural phenomena. And the natural phenomenon is storms and the sea and the water cycle. Okay. It's also, however, written in the typical way that you learned about the truth of Goros and how Goros relates to other deities in the pantheon, and how you were taught in your religious upbringing when you became a cleric, when you were an acolyte, and then all that stuff. It's written very much in that style. So this would be very similar to like the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Or some piece of scripture that didn't get put into the Bible, right? That exists but wasn't chosen to be in the Bible itself, so it didn't get passed down through the centuries, but then it gets uncovered later. That's kind of what this is. This is not the typical thing that you hear about Goros, and it's definitely, I mean, because when you learn about Goros, when you become an acolyte of Goros, you're not taught about Straben. I mean, you're taught the basics, but you're not taught anything about any relationship between them. And this indicates otherwise.
Interesting.
There's nothing in it that I mean, granted, you didn't spend 5 hours reading it. You only spent a few minutes, but there's nothing in it that immediately strikes you as, no, that's against everything I've ever been taught. This is absolutely false. There's no way this is true. This is a lie. This is someone trying to, taint whatever. It just is there. That doesn't mean it's true. It just means it doesn't have any obvious tells about, you can't look at it and obviously, so that's obviously not, like if I wrote something, you could read me and you could read a passage from Shakespeare, you'd be like, obviously, this one over here is not Shakespearean, right?
Sure.
Okay, but you can't do that with this particular passage, with this book.
Kind of relay that to the group.
Also, I need you to make me an intelligence save.
Oh, god dang it.
Uh-oh.
So what's a religious book doing nailed down in the anatomical section?
13.
How much? 13?
13?
Okay. Very similar to Konos. You get the idea that if you read this book and you really sort of took to heart the things that it says in this book, you would become a cleric, but a cleric of Straben.
Oh. Okay.
You're already
Weird.
a cleric of Goros. You would become a cleric of
Weird.
Straben.
I back off.
It does not compel you to do that because you rolled high enough, but
So why did
Maybe.
both of you just back off from the book like that?
oh yeah, and also I should probably tell you, while Imran was reading the book, the skeletons like stood up at attention.
Isn't he?
Like you could tell they sort of, now they're obviously looking.
Right, we're out.
Is there a chalkboard? Is there a chalkboard in the
There's
room behind
there's
the?
yes, there's a blackboard.
Is there any?
there.
Is there any chalk?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to write on the chalkboard. A lack of common sense will get Goras kicked.
Oh my god.
Love it. Wow.
Okay, I gotta write that
Lauren
down.
just looks up from the book with this sentence behind her and all of the skeletons standing up and is just, no, we're not.
A lecture series in 10 parts by Axley Tillingquist.
But yeah, I explained that book makes me feel like I want to be a cleric of Straben, but it's not really me wanting that, it's the book wanting that.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same thing. So, yeah, okay, yeah, careful with that one. Unless
I'm gonna
you
check
really,
the south door to see if we can find some stairs.
yeah, unless you're really looking for it to change your life, maybe don't read that book.
No.
Thanks.
But what's that book doing in the anatomical?
Maybe someone was
Auditorium.
lecturing from it. It's a lecture hall.
No, it's a theater. It's not a lecture hall. I mean, I suppose you could lecture in a theater. I was thinking more of like acting, but I suppose that's a
It's
different
it's
kind
an
of theater.
auditorium. That was what it
Yeah,
was labeled, auditorium.
right. Auditorium.
There were two listings. There was auditorium and also theater was listed.
Yeah, right. So anatomical like spreads out between three different places. Not that this is all three of them.
Right.
Yeah, well, plus ossuary, which would be the bone room.
This definitely looks like a bone room to me, but I suppose an ossuary is more of a like not put to display, more of a collection of boxes full of bones, which is probably even creepier than a bunch of skeletons standing at attention, waiting for someone to read the book and turn magically into a cleric. I mean, to be fair, if they're gonna stand there anyways and do nothing, it's probably pretty exciting to see who comes into the room and looks at the book and turns into a cleric. Do you get the robes immediately, do you think?
And it's a little ironic when you think that if the one thing a cleric probably wouldn't want is an audience of undead standing around.
It's true. Do you think you get like suddenly like the holy symbol just shows up around your neck?
You're thinking so hard about this.
There is one way to find out.
Yeah.
Marcy.
Absolutely is. But I like my storm sorcery magic. No interest in all that cleric-y stuff. Definitely not wise enough for it. Let's go.
So you go to the south door.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is no label next to this door. When you open it, you see a set of stairs down. They're stone steps.
Okay.
They're wide. They're 10 feet wide, but they're very shallow steps. Not just in depth, but also in the size of the actual treads.
And
So
this was just like the door was in the center of the southern side of the auditorium?
it's in the western side of the south
Western
wall.
side.
It's the only door in the south wall. And it's dark down there.
On my holy symbol and lead the way, I guess.
Okay. You travel down. Does everyone have dark vision?
Nope.
Yeah. So, do you want to cast light? Is that what you said? You cast
Yeah, I'm
light
gonna
on your
cast
holy
it.
symbol? Okay. Okay, so the light illuminates a very narrow. The stairs down are 10 feet wide, but they're shallow and narrow. So it's harder to judge distance, right? So normally with steps, you would know just about how many steps it would take to go about 10 feet. But because these steps have short risers and are shallow in terms of their the actual tread size, it's harder to sort of get an idea of how far you've gone. But you think probably it's about 50 feet down. And the stairs are pretty slick. The walls are carved, but it's not stone blocks like that were placed. It's like carved out of stone, out of like stone slab. So it's carved directly into the stone slab in the ground. And it's seeping water from the ceiling. So there's sort of drips and drabs of water every few feet. You get sort of pelted with a raindrop kind of coming from the seepage above your head. You go down 50 feet, and then the passageway narrows to 3 or 4 feet wide, and it snakes through. It goes to the left, to the right. It mostly keeps going south. Every once in a while, there's sort of a passage off to the left or the right, but if you keep the southerly direction, you travel for what feels like miles. And finally, there is a T intersection. And to your right, you see a set of stairs going up. And to your left, you see sorry, I'm just checking my notes here. To your right, you see a set of stairs going up. To your left, you see a door, and to the south, so I guess it wasn't a T intersection, it was a plus intersection. To the south, you see a door.
It doesn't seem like this is meant to be well trafficked.
No.
We're headed to a maze.
I mean, yeah. Some of these places are literally called mazes.
Starting to live up to its reputation a little bit.
Yeah, well, past that door should be, if we're on the correct route, the bee-filled place.
Does the door to the left say anything on it?
It says paper. Oh, the door. Yeah, the door to your left does not say that. Door to your left is where the stairs are. Sorry, I probably didn't give you very good direction. So if you look to your left,
Right.
if you look to your right, there are stairs.
Mhm.
If you look to
Oh.
your left, there's a door that says paper, and in front of you to the south is another door.
So to the east is a door, to the west is stairs?
Correct. Sorry, I said it backwards the first time, right?
Yep.
And weren't the instructions to then go up? Or were they at the beehive, we're supposed to continue south?
So it'll be downstairs, further to the south, beyond the beehive, and into the main hall. So I think south's where we need to keep headed.
Okay.
So onwards to the south.
Yep.
So the door to the south is locked and very heavy. It's made of stone rather than wood, which is where every other door has been made of. And it has a big M carved on it.
I'm going to put my ear to the door and listen.
Roll me a perception check.
8. With
All you hear is the dripping of water from the ceiling, which, by the way, in this last hallway is 20 feet high.
Okay. It'll be 12 with the bonuses, but okay.
You don't hear anything beyond the door.
I don't hear anything.
You don't hear any bees beyond the door?
No, I was hoping I might, but
Did we get lost already?
Didn't put it past us.
So he said, go south
Mhm.
and either find the printing machine or the auditorium.
Mhm.
Keep going south and go beyond the beehive, and you'll find the maze.
Okay, so we need to find the beehive. I would think a beehive would be up, right? Because the bees would need to fly into the air.
Might not be a literal beehive. It might be like where scribes.
Yeah, true.
Maybe. I suppose we could look up the stairs. Unless the M is indicating that is the place we're going to, but it's kind of weird that they have this place locked when everything else is not.
Knock on the
I don't
door.
think we want to do any breaking and entering at this point.
No.
Because we could open it if we really wanted to know what was in there.
Possibly.
I knock on the door.
We probably got some pretty good locks in here.
You knock on it.
Yeah.
You hear a like a squeaky, something squeaky, like shifting to the side, like, and you hear, "Who's there?"
We're looking for the arcane section.
What for? The alchemical section's much better.
I don't think we'd find what we're looking for in the alchemical section, to be fair.
What's the password?
Password?
Tavros didn't say anything about a password when he sent us down this way.
Oh, Tavros, hold on 1 minute. And then you hear,
God dang it.
you hear like the sound of 20 locks being shifted and moved.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting behind going, see, I told you it would be hard.
And then you hear grunting and straining. And finally, the door starts to kind of move open away from you. It's opening into the room. And as it opens, you see that the door jamb is like 4 feet wide. So this door isn't swinging open, it's being pulled back out of the gap.
Huh.
And then as it gets pulled back all the way, you hear a click, and then you hear, "Ah, God, it gets harder and harder every time." And then around from behind the sort of door that's now standing in the middle of the room steps a 5 foot tall rat in the most embroidered robes you have ever seen. They are black and they have every color of thread embroidered into them, and there's probably 150 symbols embroidered into the robes. And it's tied with a piece of rope. And this rat looks very old. He's sort of leaning on a cane. And he says, why didn't you just say that Tavros sent you?"
You didn't ask?
It's our first time here.
"Oh, I see. Mine too."
How long have you been here?
Just a few months, I think. Yes, maybe just a few months.
Uh-huh. Was Kelport by a lake when you came in?
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Is it not anymore?
No,
You could say
not really. No.
Did it move?
More like
say
everything
it's
else
more
did.
Like the water rose until it got all joined by water.
Oh, you young'uns always trying to play a joke. I see now. Welcome to the maze. And he sort of sweeps his arm, and you now see that you're in a room that's probably 20 or 30 feet by 20 or 30 feet. Not even important how big it is. But every few feet, there's a passageway out.
Hmm.
Guess we missed the bees.
Maybe that was the hallway.
I'm not broken up about that.
Do you have a name?
Of course, don't you?
Told you my name.
You did?
I knocked, yeah. But it's
Oh.
Emerin.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot that already. Let me write it down. And he sort of puts his hand up and puts his hand up flat, his left hand flat, and then he puts his right hand as if he's holding a pen, and then a pen appears, a quill, and a piece of parchment appears, and he appears to be writing on the paper. Emerin. Can you spell that for me?
I love him so much. That's not really important. What is your name?
My name is. He starts writing. Oh, you want me to tell you? My name is Mokatum Flaxsword.
Oh, can you spell that?
It's not important. As the DM, I will spell it for you. Mokotum. Oh, sorry, there's two Ks. Mokko.
The other K is silent.
Flask sword.
Okay.
Flask sword. Yeah, one of the Ks is silent. What brings you all here?
The
Well,
thirst for knowledge.
Me too. What have you found out since you've been here?
That this place is very confusing.
It is. Mm-hmm.
And that there's books that can turn you into clerics.
That's interesting. I haven't
Right?
seen that one.
It's up in the auditorium.
along with a bunch of skeletons who seemed very eager for someone to read to them.
Oh, well, did you read to them?
No, we didn't.
Oh.
Do you think if you read that book out loud, everyone in the room turns into a cleric?
I don't know. I suppose anything's possible.
Huh.
Yes, well, you know. That's what
Even the
happens when you
skeletons?
get old. You start thinking anything's possible.
So this is this whole maze area is all arcane books?
No. No. Some of them are. In part B, I think. But then there's also other things like martial rules and sounds and speeches and there's a lot in there.
How do you know
Divine is in there somewhere.
How do you know what part is A, B, C?
Well, you have to go through the maze and find the right area.
Are all the mazes connected?
Yes, in a way. But there's sometimes etchings that tell you the topic.
Is it possible to travel the long distances inside the library with shortcuts?
In the library itself, up there? Sure. I believe so, yes. But probably not the maze.
Can you get lost in the maze? Is it dangerous?
Well, I got lost once, but I found my way out. Plus, if you ask for food, they'll bring it to you. So it's not like you get lost and perish or something. You won't starve to death. Maybe.
I suppose if you forget about food entirely while you're reading, you could still starve.
Perhaps. Maybe. Well, I also hear it depends on what section of the maze that you're in.
Oh. Well, we're just looking for the arcane section. For
Well,
now.
I think that's in maze B, right? Maze B.
That's what they said upstairs. Which
Well,
way is...
so it depends on what kind of arcane that you would like to see. There are many schools of magic,
What about learning about magic users?
That would be arcane use.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably in Maze B as well, but maybe at the end of the section about types of magic.
What about things on other plateaus?
Well, that would be based on the plateau that it's in. What plateau are you looking at?
The blue plateau.
Is that a far plateau or a near plateau?
I guess that depends on who you ask.
That's a good question. Yeah.
What exactly is a far plateau versus a near plateau?
Well, is it easy to get to? Then it's near.
No.
Are any plateaus easy to get to?
I don't think. Well, I
This
mean,
one.
if any plateau is easy to get to right now, it's water because it's kind of in our plateau now.
Yes, I have
guess.
noticed a drip lately. That wasn't here before. See in that corner, there's some dripping. I don't like it. It makes it cold.
Probably not good for the books either.
Well, they tend to be water resistant,
Magic.
Hmm.
So wait, how long has it been dripping?
Well, so I think I've been here for a few weeks, but it wasn't in the beginning and now it is. I kind of
Probably
lost
has.
track of time. You see, I was studying and, well,
Uh-huh.
you know how it is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What year do you think it is?
Oh, well. Well, it depends. Do you mean on the reckoning of the dwarves or the reckoning of the elves? Or do you mean the reckoning of the main Dupernites? Or do you mean the reckoning of the Calportites? I mean, it sort of depends on whose calendar you're using, right? I mean, I think last year was the year of the sword or something. I don't know. It's not really that important. Maybe it's the year of the veil. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at a calendar. Not much need for that in here.
No, never mind then. Well, which of these stacks leads to Maze B?
One of those over there. And he points to, where'd my map go? Oh, hey. There it is. He points to the east. There's about 4 passages there.
Would any of the eastern passages?
Well, they'll all get you to the arcane section. It's just a matter of how long it takes you to find the piece that you're really looking for.
That's fair.
All right. Well, thank you for the directions.
Don't mention it.
Good luck with your rating.
What are you looking for, anyway?
Information on Laralac.
Laralac. Nope.
Never heard of him?
Nope.
Probably for the best.
Where is he from?
That's what we're trying to find out.
What did he do?
Ruin everything?
Well, there were a lot of people that were trying to do that back in the day, you know.
Mm-hmm. He might be responsible for a bit of the drip.
Oh, really? He's some sort of earth mover or something, and changed the way that the earth handles the water or something like that?
No, more like dumped a whole plane into ours.
He did what?
Dumped the plane into ours?
Well, how did he manage that?
That's what we want to know.
That doesn't sound like something that some mortal can do.
Yeah.
You
You
don't
think?
say.
He was a mortal, wasn't he?
Maybe. Sometime, probably.
Not quite sure how much that's held up, how well that's held up, though.
Oh, I see.
We're trying to save the world, you see, or the worlds.
Oh, you are now, are you? Some adventuring sort of types? I should have
Well,
known from your clothing. You're not in here just to read, I can tell.
Yeah, we're just here for information. Information is good. Know your enemy, all that.
Yes, I suspect that's true. I suspect that's true.
You ever heard of a dog god?
A dog god.
Named Shamasa Hasid.
Actually, I have heard of that.
Do tell.
Not as a dog god, though.
Really?
As a demon.
Oh.
It's worse.
Well, that makes sense, I suppose.
Well, it was a sort of lesser thing, and then it was... I don't know if imprisoned is the right word, but...
Sealed away?
Well, yes, that probably matches. Sure, that's a fine way to think about it, I suppose. But you know, it was enslaved, sort of. So not really caged, but more trapped.
Enslaved by whom?
Well, by the more powerful demons, of course. Those are really not, you know, very nice creatures.
Uh-huh.
So this Shemasa thing, it was ambitious more than others, and it rose up and it caused problems, brought chaos. but it
Bring, present tense.
it earned the respect of some of the other major demons, but you know those creatures, they war amongst themselves all the time, so you really quite don't know exactly what that means if it earned their respect. I mean, you know. Yes.
In all of my readings, usually demons of power are mostly bound for the use of their power.
Well, or bound so that they can't follow their ambitions, right? I mean, it sort of depends who's binding. Shimasa was part of the demon incursion that happened with the last great war. The evisceration, you know.
So it would be bad if he came back.
Well, I would say so, yes.
Well, then we'd better find a way to make sure he doesn't come back.
Probably.
Hence our original query of trying to find the research we're looking for.
Oh, that's what your arcane research is about? You're looking for some Shamasa Hasit? I thought you were looking for that other fellow,
Well, they're
Well,
related.
Lollipop or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
Lollipop is trying to free Shamasa Hasit.
Sorry, that really got me.
I figured we needed a little bit of levity.
Yeah.
I'm like looking through my notes. I'm like, Lollipop, who's Lolly? Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, that's a problem.
Exactly. I agree. So we figured if we find out where this guy comes from, maybe we can figure out, how to get to him and stop him.
Yes, well, perhaps my people can help you, but maybe I should leave and gather them.
I think it would be better if you maybe helped us find this information. You know this place better than we do.
Perhaps. I've never really spent much time in the arcane section.
Oh, maybe you have more information on the divine area. I guess Shamasa, are devils divine? I don't. What?
That was divine intervention. I don't suppose we have an acquaintance in common. You don't happen to know Tadius the goat, do you?
Tadius. No, should I?
You just seem to run in the same circles.
I'm just an old rat man.
By that I mean round and round and round in circles.
Well, when you get up to be as old as I am, you sort of have a hard time spitting it out, if you know what I mean.
Is rat people one of the current people that live on this world?
Yeah, there's actually a region of Calport called Rat Town. It's to the south.
Oh.
Okay.
And they actually have some docks. They're fishermen.
All right. So it's not like we're seeing this guy that his people have been dead for 50 years and he doesn't know.
No, they're still
Okay.
Yeah, they're still around.
He still might not recognize anything going out though.
True, yes.
My people, let's go help. He's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, I mean they're not a very long-lived species, right? They're kind of like Neutrinians. They're kind of like 40, 50 years max.
So this guy has lived way longer than he should have, which is probably also why he's messed up with his time. Interesting. Well, let's make sure we don't lose time.
Yeah.
Though at the same time, it would be really funny if we were in here so long that when we left, people would be like, remember that Lutrinian that showed up like 100 years ago with the sword of his people and then he just vanished?
It would be more like, we come out and 100 years later, and the crew's like, "Hey, now you owe us overtime."
Yeah.
I think by that point, they would have just taken the ship and decided who was the new captain. We did leave a lot of valuable shit on board. I'm sure they could have paid themselves and just gone off with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So let's take a 5-minute break. I need to go get some more tea, and you can think about if you want to ask him any other questions before you venture further into the maze and try to find the arcane knowledge that you're seeking. So let me throw us over to a break screen real quick. And there we are on There's my audio, and there's your audio. All right, everybody, we're back. Okay, so what decisions have been made about if you want to ask him anything else, or you're asking him to go into the arcane section with you?
If he wants to tag along. I was my my encyclopedic knowledge person who doesn't even play this game reminded me that Lutrinians have only been around since the sinking.
Mhm.
So I am suddenly very interested in the fact that this guy doesn't seem bothered at all by the fact that a Lutrinian is talking to them.
Mhm. Well,
So that's going to come up in conversation.
right. He might just think you're some kind of weird, like, who knows, right?
I mean, I suppose I could look rat-like because I'm definitely shorter, much shorter,
Mhm.
and smaller ears. And either my tail got lopped off at some point or became furrier. But I do have a tail. It's just furrier than a rat tail and a bit thicker at the base.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess your hands are very similar, and yeah.
I mean, I think rats have more human-looking hands, in which
Mhm.
like rats don't have fur on their hands, and at least the back of mine
Mhm.
probably do have. Like I have like more of the like paw pad going on
Yeah. Yeah.
than a rat does. Definitely don't have rat feet.
Yeah. Earl's
So
Earl's
very
getting a
weird.
run for his money here. Matt has a
Oh,
I do have a small anecdote because I go feed him at the break so he doesn't bug me about food afterwards. And but because it's early for his food, he was just chilling on his tower, like half asleep, just alert because I was moving around until I grabbed his can. And I didn't even like get to open it. Like, you know how you like flip the tab open and then pull back? That flipped the tab, which is a very small noise, and we've got fans going on, and I just
Mhm.
hear him jump whap, 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 whap,
Yep.
over to the kitchen.
Of course. It's like a
Need ears.
I can tell
It's
it from a
amazing.
mile away.
Yep.
They know which sounds are good sounds.
So the other thing, back to the actual game, the other thing about the otter folk, right? He's also looking at you, and you have robes on, right? So like,
No.
or a cloak. You have cloak on.
I mean, yeah, I suppose I do have
Hmm.
a cloak on.
Yeah, he might
Um,
sense some kind of
but he
magic
would be able
about
to
you. Yeah.
see like the head shape is different too, because like
Hmm.
otters have a very
Oh, for
different head
sure.
shape,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
rats are
wouldn't
very
have that.
elongated. Otters are more rounded.
Yeah, and otters don't really have like visible whiskers
Hmm.
as I mean they have. I think they do, but
Yeah, they have
they have much
whiskers, but
shorter.
they're different. Yeah.
They're very different. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he doesn't make any. He doesn't even. It's like he doesn't even notice.
I mean, to be fair, he might have seen other Lutrinians come into the library.
Hmm. Yeah. He also doesn't make any comments about Otto and the crow.
Wait, those are with us?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting they're with us.
Oh,
Fox is here too.
Who is? Oh, your Pelker.
Fox, yeah.
Uh-huh. It's like a freaking menagerie.
it is.
It didn't say no pets allowed.
They didn't.
Um. Yeah. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna ask him to go with you? Is that what you did ask him to go, right?
Yeah, he said he hasn't been in the arcane section, right?
Right.
He's still a better guide than us getting lost on our own.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Besides, he seems to like us, or at least someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are you gonna make your way through those exit doors that he pointed out then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the east ones.
As you do that, he sort of starts trying to push the other door, back in place. And it takes him a while to get the giant stone to move.
Help him
I'll give
push
him a hand with
it.
that. Yeah, just
Yeah.
Okay, roll me a strength check.
God.
I just cheer from the sidelines with my 8 strength.
22.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Uh, 19. Sorry.
Okay. Axley, are you going to help or are you just going to cheer from the sidelines?
I'll cheer from the sidelines.
Okay. You two start pushing on the door. And it doesn't seem to help him at all. Like it's like you're pushing on this thing and it's not moving. And every once in a while he'll put in like a grunt like and it'll move a little bit, but you don't seem to be having hardly any effect. But eventually he and you there beside him helping get it pushed all the way back into place, but you really don't feel like you helped at all. And then he just sort of waves his finger and all the locks start locking. Just and then a bar slides across. Another bar slides down.
That must be how you stay in such great shape.
Well, doing that over the few weeks I've been here, I really feel like it's revitalized my musculature.
It shows.
So, have you met many other people here in the library in your weeks?
A few. I mean, the cleaners and some Tavros helps me sometimes. And not very many people come down to the maze. It's very confusing. Every once in a while, someone comes in. Usually it's some big highfalutin wizard or something, and they want to come in and they have a very specific thing to look at, so they don't really want to talk to me.
I guess that's fair. Seen any other Lutrinians beside me?
Anywho,
Lutrinian.
what's that?
That's what I am.
Oh, I thought you were a halfling. It's a very hairy one.
No.
Well, what are you?
A Lutrinian.
Right, but what is that?
Yeah, some call us otter folk because, we look like otters.
Oh, did you get polymorphed? Is that why you're looking for the arcane section? You want to reverse that?
No, we were always like that. We just weren't from this plane originally.
Oh.
We're kind of newcomers.
Well, which plateau are you from? Maybe I can get you back there.
The water plateau.
The water one. Would you like to go back?
Do you have a way to go back there or send someone there?
Well, there's a mage teleportation circle in the mazes here.
Really?
Yes.
And it lets you go back to, the water plateau?
Well, it depends on what you program into it, I suppose.
I thought they were outlawed for use.
Well, we don't really talk about this one.
Oh, okay.
Do you know
I won't tell anyone.
Do you know when the last time anybody used that one is?
Probably a couple days ago.
I don't really rightly know. It's not as if I stand around it, I've been doing my own research.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fair.
I was over doing my own when you called for me and knocked on the door.
What did you say you were researching again?
I was over in the Reaches, looking at the infernal text.
That sounds like even more dangerous than reading a book that turns you into a cleric.
Well, I suppose that's why it's down here in the Reaches and not up there in the auditorium where everyone can see it.
That makes sense. But aren't you afraid it's just gonna, turn you into a devil instead of a cleric? Or a demon?
Well, some of the people think that my kind are devil people anyway. It's preposterous, but that's what they think. That's why I'm over there,
Hmm.
trying to find something that proves that my people did not help those devils and demons last time there was a war. They already blamed the gnomes.
Perhaps the best way to prove yourself is to undo it and help us defeat them the second time.
Undo what?
The damage the devils have done.
Well, that's hard to do. There's a lot of them.
That's true. But like, say someone were to like connect our plane with the water plateau so that all the water in the water plateau ended up in ours.
That's a very horrible idea. Why would you think of such a thing?
It's just my grand imagination.
I see.
Hmm. How would you go about undoing that?
Well, that sounds like a rift. So you'd have to sew up the rift somehow, I think.
Well, wouldn't
So
we have to
you'd
get
have to
all the water back that already escaped back into the?
Oh, you want to get the water back too? Yes, that would be a problem. I suppose
Reverse it?
you'd have to pull through the rift backwards, the way that it came in and then back out.
so like reverse the rift. Is that possible?
Well, I don't know what caused all the water to come through the rift, you see, so I don't know how to make that go backwards, but that's what I would expect would have to happen if you want it to all go.
Where would such a rift be? Could it be anywhere? Or could there be like locations where it could be easier to make such a rift?
There's a section on rifts.
Ooh, let's go there.
There's not a lot of them known about, They're problems. They're not planned, like ladders and gates are planned. But rifts are tears. And some of them happen randomly, and I suppose it's true that perhaps some could be caused on purpose. Can't imagine why anyone would want to do that other than a devil or a demon, but who knows?
I'll pull out the pages from the Book of Proofs transcription that we have, and I'll
Mhm.
show him some and say this is a detailed breakdown of how it may have happened and how it could be undone that we're trying to understand.
He sort of wrinkles his eyebrows. His nose is like doing that rat thing where it's like sniffing around. And he says, what's it supposed to say?
It's a mystery to be solved.
A mystery. Are you solving it?
That's what we're here to do.
Well, are you going to write that in common?
This is as clear as we could get it at the moment.
Oh. Well, there's a table in there. You could sit and work on it if you want to. Little puzzle thing.
I'm sure we'll be spending some time with it.
So you said beside rifts, there's the ladders and
Yes.
ladders and what?
Gates.
Gates. Those are known stable locations, right?
Yes.
And the gates are to go to a plateau and the ladders to come back?
The gates go to some plateaus, and the ladders go to the lower plateaus.
So if you wanted to go to the water plateau, you would be using gates, not ladders.
Well, it depended on where exactly you were going.
How about the threefold lake?
The threefold lake. Lake. Now there's a name I haven't heard in a really long time. If you want to go to the Threefold Lake, you're going to have to get either to the White Plateau or to the Red Plateau. Or I suppose you could probably get there from the Dark Plateau if you went to the Palace of the Fated, but that's very dangerous, and I'm not sure you would want to do that one. But if you go to the Red Plateau or the White Plateau, you can probably find some way to get to the Threefold Lake. You might not survive, though.
Well, that would be a problem. How would one survive getting there?
Well, I'm not sure, the problem is that the White Plateau isn't really for people like us, and the Red Plateau isn't, well, it isn't really for people like us, and, well, the Dark Plateau isn't really for people like us. So it's a little bit difficult to get there, but it might be a problem.
Fated be more dangerous.
Well, you don't go to the Palace of the Fated unless your soul is ready to be judged.
The place we went to in Darkport was not the Palace of the Fated.
Correct.
That was just the cathedral.
Right, the Temple of the Beak.
Yeah.
But the Raven Queen controls the Palace of the Fated?
Yeah.
It is her home.
So with her permission, we might gain access.
I suppose. Are you on a first name basis with the Raven Queen?
I'm not sure.
Not quite, no.
Point to the raven that we have and say, we have favor.
And we have a mutual friend who might be.
Yeah, just turn to the raven and go, "Hey, Queenie, you think we could go there?"
The raven starts going, wah, 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 wah.
I turn back. Answer inconclusive.
Ask again later.
Still haven't quite gotten the raven speech.
Well, they're a little flighty, you know.
Okay, well, I'm going to assume we've been kind of walking towards wherever to the east.
Yeah, you've been walking down the passages like he's sort of in front and he's just going.
Mhm.
You're like lost.
Yeah, probably.
As we've been walking, could I just every 3 or 4 shelves just pull out a random book just a little bit off the shelf so we can see that it's protruding, and so we know
Yeah.
we've been that way.
Yeah.
Kind of book breadcrumbs.
Roll a stealth check.
Okay.
Behind you, an invisible servant is just pushing them all back neatly into place.
That would be appropriate. So, 20.
He sees you and he says, the cleaners will just put those back in.
How often do they come by?
It's unknown. They just sort of know when there's something out of order.
Thinking that would help us not get too lost or too turned around in here.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I know exactly where we are.
Oh, all right. Oh, well, where are we at this point?
We are in Maze C right now. We're almost to Maze B. We've got a couple more stacks there. He kind of points. Then he turns left.
Okay.
Is any of this looking familiar?
Um, mm, no, it's not looking familiar to you.
Mm.
So after a few minutes, he gets to a bookcase area. Now, everywhere you've been walking has been these passageways cut at perfect right angles and made so that you can see stacks of books and just shelves and shelves and shelves, and that they are sort of the most compacted in the amount of space. So you could fit the most number of books and scrolls in that amount of space as possible. At least that's what it looks like. It's not like you're stopping much to really pay attention. But as you look, it looks like everything is in a very orderly condition, but these shelves are they're just packed full of books and scrolls everywhere you look. And it's well maintained. There's no dust. Now, Imran, you remember when you were in your vision, in your dream, there were areas where it looked like nobody had been here for a very long time. There's lots of dust around. You could see footprints and whatnot in some of those areas. In this particular place that you're in, it's well lit with actually torches uh, on the ceiling in between bookcases, and the torches are lit with a blue light. It's not hot, so it's obviously magical in nature. Um, and he brings you to a set of shelves, and he says, "This here is the end of transmutation, and so this should be the beginning of people. So if there's someone who has a fantastical history or a book that they have written that is in the library, then it would be here. And all of these shelves," and he sort of points, and as you look down, you see that the shelves look like they go on for a really, really long time. Like this isn't just like one or two bookshelves, it's like down the hall.
So basically out of our field of view because light has a like
Right.
40-foot radius.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like the Book of Proofs should originally be from this section.
No, this section is magic users, right? She asked him to go to where it might have a history of a person, whereas the Book of Proofs is a book of knowledge about a particular topic and how to use that topic.
Would the Book of Proofs even be in the arcane section? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I'm gonna ask, have you heard of the Book of Proofs? Do you know what that is?
Oh, of course. Yes, of course. I've never seen it.
It's a myth, a legend. Something that powerful could never be in the hands
No,
of
of course it's not.
mortals.
I learned all about it. It's one of the most powerful things in this universe. It can tell the future and the past. It's a book of time.
If only it could be used to transcribe a solution.
Well, of course it can.
Not like this pile of jibbled notes I have here.
Well,
So
who knows what your
I
mad
thought
scribblings say?
I thought the Book of Proofs was a book where you would write something and it would just tell you if it's true or not.
Yes, of course, but it tells you how it's true or false.
I guess. Can you ask
Completely
it more than
unlike these.
I think
I think
actually
you can
Hess
ask
is
it.
a little sore about that.
Yeah. It's taking me weeks. Do you think you can ask the book like more than one thing?
What do you mean? You don't ask it, you tell it. And then it tells you
Right.
if you're right.
Hmm.
But is it something that somebody can only write in once in their lifetime? Can they use it multiple times?
Oh no, that's why it's so powerful. You can use it as much as you want. As long
That
as you
makes
don't,
sense.
as long as you don't break the white axiom.
Boy.
Break the what?
Nina goes, oh shit.
Oh boy.
Break the what?
As long as you don't break the white axiom.
I thought the white axiom was like a group of people, not a. What is the white axiom?
The white axiom.
The thing
it's
that clerics. It, all I know is that if you learn the truth of the white axiom, you can reverse the sinking, but you can also ruin things. This was a while ago. White axiom, believed by some acolytes, by some prophecies. The white axiom is the fullest representation of Goras's power. Possibly reverse the sinking, but will destroy the common plateau. And I put lack of freedom.
Oh, that's not the white axiom.
What is your interpretation of the white axiom?
The
Yeah,
white
what do you know?
axiom is if you complete the book of proofs, it will tell you the inner workings of everything. You'll have an understanding of everything, but as such, you will undo everything, because once you have an understanding, you can manipulate it, and ultimately, then it must be undone. That's why no one really keeps the book of proofs for very long, because if you ask too much of it, you might accidentally stumble upon the completion. And if you stumble upon the completion, well, you'll destroy everything.
I thought the Book of Proofs had like infinite pages.
Well, it does, unless you complete it. It has as many pages as needed. That's the same as infinite.
That-
How would someone complete it? They just write till it's full, or is there a certain proof they write, or
Never
Oh.
write the end inside of it.
This is the end of this book. That's a statement.
Well, I don't know how to complete it. I don't know. If I knew, that would be a problem, right? Because that would mean other people knew, and that would mean the end of us.
It can't be easy because I imagine the temptation if you have something like that to ask as many questions as you want. You're not going to want to just give it up.
I suppose. I've never really seen it myself.
Do you know where they keep it? Or where it's
Probab-
supposed to be?
Probably here, under protection of some sort.
Where would you put the Book of Proofs if you were putting it somewhere in this library?
Where would I put it? Well, the DM says as he tries to find his map again.
This map has to be like 6 pages.
It's one page, but how do I keep misplacing this thing? It's impossible. It's one page, that's the problem, but it has all my notes scribbled on it. Ugh. Seriously, come on. There it is. Hiding. Okay. Well, I think that it would probably be placed. Probably in the spire room. That has the most protection, probably.
Say the spire room?
Yes, the spire.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing a spire listed in the location for topics.
Well, there are some rooms that aren't topically listed, I think, in the upper areas. You know, in the olden days, they just expected you to know where your area of study was when you would come here. Everyone was allowed to come in.
Yeah, it must have stopped with the sinking, right?
The what now?
The dripping problem.
Oh, well, that is a problem. You know, that also preoccupies the custodians. They have to come and wipe up the water all the time.
Has
Should get
it
some
been
plants.
They don't grow down here. I think there's too much magical energy or something.
Not enough sun. Maybe if you got some like cave plants,
Hmm,
moss.
as we've been walking
perhaps.
we've been walking along all these stacks and shelves, has it been still leaking, dripping?
Yep.
Wow.
And then the whole part of the maze. Well, we are underneath, and we've definitely gone like it feels like we've gone farther than like the length of the building by this
Mhm.
point.
Yep.
So do we? Oh, I just thought of something.
Mhm.
Are these books like organized by title, author's name, or author's last name?
Author's last name. But a lot
That
of
might be a
authors,
problem.
only go by first name, right? So then it's
Then it's
like
just the
Batet,
name you have.
right? If you were looking at Batet, you would just see Batet. You wouldn't necessarily know his last name.
Okay. Well, I hope Larilac doesn't have a last name.
I'm gonna tell Otto to just fly down the aisle here
Mhm.
and look for any books he can see by or about Laralac,
Okay.
and like come back and get find anything.
Go ahead.
I would like to start looking for books on Allegra Hammond.
Okay. Axley, what are you doing?
Is I mean, can I interpret any of these notes from the book of proofs? Like, how do I go about?
You can sit down and start to like try to transcribe them into a variation of the common language so that it could be like readable in paragraphs versus being like equations, coded equations.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay.
Start that process.
Okay. Um, as Imran goes to the H section, starts walking down, and as Otto flies down with the raven on his back,
Yeah.
Tavros coalesces in front of Marcel and says, "This is the only thing that I could find." And then he puts out his hand, and then a book appears in it.
I take it.
He says, "The book itself is not about Laralac, but there is an inscription in it."
Oh shit. What's the title?
The title of the book is, let me look it up here. Now, this is a note I have on.
It's not History of the Greenbloods, right?
No. It is, it's called Collected Wisdom of the Conquered Peoples.
Just the kind of title I want to see.
It is a book of poetry by Betet of Cowport.
What was the name of this book?
Collected Wisdom of the Conquered Peoples.
Okay, so this has an inscription. Wait, an inscription or a like? It mentions him in some.
It has if you open up the book, on the inside cover, it has something inscribed into it, and that's where Laralak's name is. I'll tell you what it has in a second. So if you go to, wait, did I post it here? Yes, I did. So if you go to the Discord in the pinned messages, one of them says handout 1 to not open until instructed to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That is the inscription.
Oh, we can open that now.
Yes, you can open that now. And so I will read it for the audience, for people who are listening and or watching right now. It says, it's in the poetic format. It says, one will rise in a shroud of white to canonize and crystallize, bringing legions of spite. Among the debris in stone and blood, find they a key to release the flood. The messenger they call under stone and ore brings they who crawl to the chained one's behest. The end sees the shroud upon a gate unseen, the chained eye avowed to wash the world clean. Next to the phrase in stone and blood, in parentheses, it says in wave and crest. And next to under stone and ore, in parentheses, it says under wave and crest. And then there's a scribble in a different hand and in a different color above that says dirge of the Adram houses. And down at the bottom there is a scribbled note in another different hand that says well of Hasit, and under that amethyst key, and under that united coral, and under that proofs, and then the number 6174. And then under that, in a completely different hand, it says Hail Laralak. The Hail Laralak is written in blood.
Do we recognize any of the handwriting? Since we've seen a couple of like written things on the books we found in one of the.
So where it says dirge of the Adram houses, it looks very similar to the Defy Not, the House of Adram, the note that you saw.
That which was from Batat.
That was from Batet. You found that in the library in Trastenfin.
And the well of Hasit and all of that, is that familiar with the I'm more thinking of, because the history of the Greenblood said had Laralek awaits on it.
Is it similar to that?
Yeah.
I
think there was also some writing in the I want to say Pactus Hadronicus, like notes on the edges.
Yeah, all of those are similar.
Okay.
And it's also similar to some of the stuff that's in the Amethyst book that Imran has. Some of the writing pointing to the weird diagrams and whatnot is in a similar hand.
6174. We've seen that in a chain of numbers.
It's the most repeated chain of numbers. It's the one that ends every long string of numbers, and it's also in other places.
Do I know what the term chained one or chained eye would that be a reference to?
You can roll a history check.
Okay. 11.
No, not really, but you assume. So let's do this. Why don't, because you're all sort of standing around this reading it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you would probably call Axley over to take a look at this. Let's do a group check for, what's the easiest way to do this? So basically what we're doing is we're saying you're going to sort of study this for a little while together and bounce ideas off of each other. So let's do a group check using your choice of history or religion. Of course, all those are int. I'll give you a choice of intelligence or wisdom.
How does a group check work?
So group check works like this. Everybody rolls, and half of you have to succeed in order to succeed on the entire check. The DC is 15.
Holding that one.
Oh God.
With you said against history? It's against a skill or just against the stat?
You can either do it against history, intelligence, or history wisdom. So that would mean you would use the wisdom stat instead of the history, instead of the intelligence stat to use your history skill. So if you're proficient in history, you get to add your proficiency bonus.
Okay, and do I get the bonus for it being common history, or is this?
This you would not get the bonus on.
No. Okay, so I just get a +2. All right.
I
Just
rolled a
12.
7.
Just a 12 for me.
I got a 16 +2 is 18.
Okay. Yeah. So this one is not. I mean, you're pretty sure that you could sit with these for a while and try to figure out what this is, but none of it really.
Or we are in the biggest library in the world and just look
Yeah.
it up.
Right?
But that'll take
True,
you longer.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, the problem
So
with the
there's
library is it has too much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no books written by Laralac or about Laralac, and this is the only case where Laralac appears.
That is what
He says.
Tavros has indicated. That he could not find anything by Laralac.
And the in Waven Crest and under Waven Crest is part of like the original inscription for the book that's was there.
Right. It's part of the poem part is the original, and then the dirge it is handwritten, and then the other stuff that's in purple on that page is handwritten, and then
Right.
and those two are in ink, and then in blood it says Hail Laralac.
I wonder if he chose that name after he figured everything out.
Possibility.
Yeah.
If that there's a shopping list.
No. The fact that we have the most.
Yeah, but the thing is, we took something from him. I guess we don't have the key.
I mean,
That we know of.
And the other one is in our possession from the beginning.
right.
Unless by United Coral it's talking about fitting what Konos has into the trident that ended up conveniently in our hands.
or uniting it in the lake.
Yeah, that's the other option. The thing I'm missing from that list, though, is why he needed you to attack him, Emran.
Yeah, I know. I still haven't figured that one out, and it's still not. It's still really concerning. I mean, we can also look up Shamasa Hasit because I feel like that's mentioned in this one as well, so there might be other references up as Tavros
So your
to look
friend
at.
Mokatum says Shamasa is in the reaches.
I figured.
Well,
That's
like
how
we
I
should-
know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Still want to look at Gray Hammond, and also maybe just ask Tavros to get us any books that refer to Shamasa Hasit.
I'll
Also, what about that other wizard whose name we have? I think it's a wizard. The one who converted all the children. That
Oh, Ian Tarsis?
Yeah, is that who it is?
I don't think Ian Tarsis was a wizard
I think
necessarily.
so.
No, Tophadius, a gnome wizard, founded Havel Arcana School of Magic. Tadius is the one who worked for him, I
Oh
think.
yeah, Thetis. Two.
Matt, what were you going to say?
I was gonna ask Tavros to bring us any books he can find about the House of Adram.
Okay, so let me take a note here. Okay, so you're asking about so Imran wants to find anything regarding Allegray Hammond.
Is the one that like made the book of proofs, right?
Well, so Tadius told you that Tefadus made it.
Oh really?
And then there was some confusion about whether he made it alone or whether he and Allegray Hammond made it together. Because Tadius basically said, well, Tefadus isn't around anymore, but he was there, but Allegray was there when Tefadus made the book. So, you know. And so Konos, what did you ask about? You want to know anything about House of Adram?
Yeah, any books about that?
Okay. And Axley, you want to know about Tefadus?
Sure.
And Marcel, what do you want to know about?
Everything.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
Honestly, I think we should be looking up stuff for Shamasa Hasit.
Okay.
What we can find out about Shamasa Hasit.
Okay.
And maybe any other references in books 26174. Because that number keeps coming up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Imran, Allegray Hammond, there are 4 shelves worth of books by or about Allegray Hammond. He's, you know, he is a well-known arcane figure. He's still alive. He's right now the head of the Seminary of Saint Abdar, right? So he is he's relatively prolific and he still writes things. So it's in this case about him. It's in the order of chronological publication, I guess. Publication is probably not the right word, but you get the idea. But it ends 1 year before the sinking. All of his writings end 1 year before the sinking. Okay. Konos, the House of Adram, has about 2 shelves worth of books, and the majority of the books are about their import and export records and how much money they made. The rest of the books about them are about all the good deeds they did with all this money that they made and how they founded all the different parts of Calport, and it's a lot of references to Calport. There's also some references to other places, but mostly it's about how about their family lineage and about all of their basic records for what they did, right? The interesting thing there is that Cornelius Adram is the last person on the family tree. So Cornelius Adram is the last person on the family tree. Other than that, there's really there's nothing in the books. I mean, granted, you're just flipping through, right? So you're spending hours, right? Okay, like 2 or 3 hours each of you at this, but that's not enough time to really read any of these books individually. So you're kind of looking at them, flipping through, seeing what they are, flipping through a few more times to see if you see any, handwritten notations or anything like that, and then kind of making a note in your mind about, okay, that book was basically about that, right? And so there's really nothing in the House of Adram books. There's really nothing that is weird, right? It's all, in fact, the only weird thing about it is that it's in the maze, and that there's a whole merchant section in the maze, but it's not in the arcane section. You had to go quite far away. Okay. Makodum took you to a different area, and there's all kinds of merchant houses histories in there, and the House of Adram is there, and that's basically their accounting, but also the accounting of their family line. Okay.
All right. So if they assuming they're tied up with any cults or conspiracies, they go out of their way to not have that information get be known or get published for any means.
Right. And just because those books are in this library doesn't mean they're the true accounting, right? That's just the records. Those might be the cooked books, right? So maybe there's something elsewhere, but they're not on this shelves. Right. Actually, the info about Tefadus, much like Allegra Hammond, there's about 4 bookshelves worth, because he was very prolific and he wrote about his entire process because he thought that it was important that other people get to read about the process of learning arcane magic and how to wield arcane energy. But the interesting thing about his work is the majority of the books are very mundane. They're almost like recipe books. They're not written with arcane magic imbued into them. Like, they're not spell scrolls. They're not the way that he taught. He wrote his books so that a layperson could read the books and understand what's happening when a person learns how to use magic, right? It's sort of like reading a book about how to build a canoe and then hop in the canoe and row down a river. Like, you're reading about it, but you're not actually doing it. So it's very mundane the way the description is, but it doesn't actually give you the experience of doing it. So that's kind of how most of his work is. There are a couple of books that are written, basically they're just arcane, scribbles. They're basically him working out these types of combinations don't work, right? But in his own arcane, when a mage writes a spell, if they're writing a spell scroll, their notations and their way of casting it is slightly different from every other mage, right? And so this is sort of here's the way that things didn't work for me kind of book. Okay, and then there are some scrolls that were spells that he produced, and he was that he created, right? And there's a couple of books about architecture because he actually built the Hovel Arcana. He built it himself, um, with magic, but also with his own two hands. And then
Great. All of his books have a
yeah.
real catchy black and white with a yellow splash. It's like Magic for Dummies on it.
Right. Magic for the masses. And Marcel, Shamasa Hasit is that topic is in the Reaches. So the question is, do you want to go to the Reaches by yourself, or do you want to sort of do something else before you go? I mean, Makotum will go with you if you want.
I mean, if everyone's going to spend time reading, I might as well go to the Reaches with Makotum. I like the guy. He's not going to leave me alone, right?
I don't know. Let me roll a die. I'm just kidding. So Shamasa Hasit, you. So Makotum takes you to the one book. It takes him a while to find it, because when he ran across it, he wasn't actually looking for anything about Shamasa Hasit. But the one book, it's not even really about Shamasa Hasit. It's about how a demon is able to transition from one power level to another. And the one important thing in there is that in order for a demon to transition from one power level to another, if the demon goes from a higher power level to a lower power level, all that had to happen to make that occur was that the demon was killed in a different plateau, not their home plateau. So when they reincarnate as a lesser version of what they were, right? They shouldn't have let themselves get killed in a different plateau, right? But to rise in the ranks, they actually have to get access to mortal souls that wielded power. And if they can get access to mortal souls that wielded power, and they can use those souls and also gift those souls to a higher demon level, then that higher demon will grant them the status to which they are trying to rise, if that makes sense. And the reason that Shamasa Hasit is even mentioned in this is that Shamasa Hasit is the only type of demon of her type that has risen above her enslaved station. None of the other demons that are ever at that type, that are naturally born at that type, ever get out of that. They are the ground troops that get sent to fight wars in other plateaus, and they always get reincarnated because they're the lowest level.
And they keep getting sent somewhere else to die, so they...
Right. And Shamasa Hasit is the only one that has ever been able to, but it doesn't say how
that happened.
Doesn't say how. But it does tell you how every other type of demon had to do it, right? They had to get
Does it
access
say
to
anything
souls.
about when Shamasa Hasit rose? Like, how old is the book?
Do you want to roll an Arcana check?
Sure. 20?
The book is 51 years old.
Hot damn.
Just a year before the sinking.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And that book is written by Betet of Calport.
Again. Next, you're going to tell me that it has 6,174 pages.
That'd be a big
No.
book.
No.
Shimasa Hasi appears on page 6,174.
No.
Number of pages it takes to complete the book of proofs.
That's an alarmingly small number for that to happen.
Yeah.
Considering how old the book is.
Yeah. We've already put, I think, 3 of them in there.
3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4 names. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it counts the amount of names of people asking or the amount of pages used for the question. Okay, cool.
Makotom would tell you, no, it's not the amount that you fill it up. It's that you finally propose to it the appropriate statement that completes the book, that finishes it. Excuse me.
All right, that's even more concerning.
So we'll probably end there. If you, well, so I guess the question is, do you want to stay in the reaches or do you want to go back and show everything you found?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the others.
Okay. Were there any relatively quick questions that any of you had about what you found out?
Not quick.
No.
Okay. What's a not quick one? What's a not quick question?
Well, I was gonna ask Makotom, do you know? No, he wouldn't know. Never mind. But isn't Betet supposed to be dead?
It's supposed to be. It's just a long, yeah. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, Betet.
Well, apparently he
died
was alive
before the
51 years ago.
And he sure wrote a bunch of interesting things right
Yeah.
up until the thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
What if Betet
Well, we have
is
2 names that
Lilac?
disappeared right before the sinking, right? The other one that you researched, what was his name?
Tefadus.
Well,
No.
Tefadus.
Allegra Hammond.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if Betet is Lilac? No.
I mean, have we seen anything from Betet that?
Yeah, we have. Dirge of the Adram Houses. That was a different. That's supposedly Betet's handwriting.
But the note says cross. What does it say? Don't cross the house of Adram.
Yeah,
Define
don't
not.
cross that.
Define not.
Define not. Yeah.
Maybe Lilac was his apprentice.
I'm gonna say that the 2 names seem to pop up, or at least relatively close together.
And we know that Lilac is pretty old, so
Right? It would make sense.
If only we had a book we could pose a statement of fact in that might actually tell us.
The answer to that question.
I'll do that right now.
Why not?
sure, that's a great way to end the session. How exactly do we want to phrase the statement?
Are we asking?
And who's going to write it?
Well, we could do one of 2 ways. We could do it one way where it's hit or miss, right? We might, if we name one person and say they are Laralac, and if they are, we get the answer. If not, we get another answer. Or we could cast a wider net and we could say one of the 2 of them is Laralac, and that gives us a proof of a sort.
I mean, if you wanted to really, really broad, you could always say Laralac is not Laralac's birth name.
Well, I think we're going off that assumption. I'm just saying if these are our two prime candidates as suspects, then we want to either confirm or eliminate both of them with one
yeah,
question.
but he could possibly have worked under one of these two and
True.
just killed both of them and then sank the world. I mean, that's the third option, right?
True, but that's a real nebulous set of facts and circumstances that we haven't led anything to point in that direction yet.
I mean, I think the most direct way to do it is to say Laralac and whoever else we want to name are the same person.
But what if it's the other one, right? And then we'll get a no, and then we know not. Then we're still back at square one. Whereas if we ask about the two names, then we can eliminate both of those individuals, or at least have our bullseye really close. Yeah.
Question for Sam: the list of Welefasi and all that, and the Hail Laralac, was that in the same handwriting?
It's hard to tell because the Hail Laralac was in blood, and the others were in ink.
Right, so less control of calligraphy.
Yeah.
But it is very different, the writing that says Dirge of the Adrim Houses compared to the list.
Correct.
And we were told that Dirge of the Adrim Houses was written by Batet.
Yes.
Therefore, we have two people writing these, one of which we know is Batet. The other one is the one we think is Laralac.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Which means Laralac is not Batet. I could be very confidently stating something wrong, but
I mean, why do you suspect that Laralac is the other one? The guy he was the one who helped write the Book of Proofs, right? Isn't that what he did?
I don't think he wrote the Book of Proofs either. I don't think he's either of these people. It doesn't make sense for him to write proofs on like a shopping list if he's the one that created the book. He stole the book.
According to Tadius, Tefadus wrote the Book of Proofs, and Allegre Hammond either was there or took possession of it or had something to do with it. He may have even helped write it. Allegre Hammond, according to Tadius, is still alive, whereas Tefadus is not, as far as he knows. That's the reason those two are connected to the Book of Proofs, because that's what Tadius told you.
Okay, so it could be that second person.
What else do we know about him?
Emran's the one that looked up information about him, right?
He's still alive and wrote a lot of stuff, just arcane stuff.
Right up into the sinking.
Right up until the sinking.
Was his later arcane works anything to do with like the rifts and the water plateau and all that kind of stuff?
I don't think so.
No, his work is a lot like the work of Tefadus, where a lot of it is instructional manual type stuff. Because they both Tefadus and Allegre sort of started these schools of magic. So that's what they're known for.
We can try and find the guy.
I mean, we're kind of grasping at straws. Our suspicions kind of end with suspecting that Laralac is not the actual name that he was known as before the sinking.
The Adrim house, you said Cornelius was the last name, right? What year was he born in?
What year was he born, or what year did he die?
I guess what year did he die?
If he died, it just says that was the last person in the family tree.
Yeah, but we know that Blacksley is Cornelius, so.
He died 1 year before the sinking.
Everything's all coming together here.
That's why I was asking.
Cut out. What was that?
1 year before the sinking.
And what is it you have to do to ascend as a demon? You have to offer up the souls of who?
You
Of
have to get
important.
access to some souls. You have to be able to pull energy out of them. And you have to also have some souls to give to the higher up demons as a tribute to convince
Barter
them.
for power.
Yeah, you're basically saying, look, I'm powerful enough to get these souls. I'm giving them to you because I'm trying to prove to you that I deserve to be raised up to another station.
And suddenly we have a list of really important people who all went and disappeared a year before the sinking happened.
Mm-hmm.
So
Except
maybe they were collected.
So the only one that's still alive, do we even have any clues as to where he is?
I
Well,
think
we have.
Tadius just told you that he's probably still at the seminary. The seminary of St. Abdar still exists.
I think that's where we need to go next.
That's in Calport?
I don't think Tadius told you where it was. It's not in Calport.
Damn.
Well, we're in a library, so.
I mean, yeah, we can find out where it is. I was just.
Yeah.
I thought it was the library. Wait, are we in the Library of Great Towers?
Therondimus.
That is the. Sorry?
Yeah, the Library of Therondimus. It's also called the Grey Towers. That was true.
Okay.
What you said.
Okay.
It has like 3
I
different
just-
names. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that Library of Great Towers and Tomish Repository from like the first time Calport came up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, before we get off of here, are you going to write anything in the book, the proofs?
Our only suspect now is the only one that's alive of these people who all died suspiciously on the same year. Oh, I got a better one. What if we put Laralac killed the people who died that year?
Yeah, but if one of them's wrong, then we'll get a negative answer.
That's true.
It's got to be specific. I don't know. It's hard, right? We're throwing darts at the wall, hoping we get lucky.
Cornelius and Idrim did not have any kids.
What do you think, Konos?
Well, I mean, we have access to the person who says he's Cornelius Adram. We could always just ask him. Try to ask him. Hey, do you remember what happened 51 years ago? If he'll tell us.
How did you die?
How did you die, or what's the last? Did you ever encounter, Laralac or anything like that?
Didn't he not even remember his name?
I don't think he's going to remember. I feel like we asked him about it too. I feel like we asked him.
Yeah, we asked him a bunch of things and he knew nothing.
Can't Amarin contact a dead spirit and ask questions?
The body.
You need a body?
With dead, I think requires.
I mean, you kind of have the body there. It just happens to walk and talk, right? I mean, that would be pretty interesting to find out what would happen.
Oh my god, casting Speak with Dead with an undead creature.
No. Wait, let me find the spell. Hold on.
I don't know. I'm not really sure if we have a clear statement we can use for the book.
Yeah.
I think we have to find out more about the one that's alive and see where he is to see if we can either locate him or try to send him a sending.
Oh, the spell says grant the semblance of life and intelligence to a corpse. The corpse must still have a mouth and can't be undead.
They even thought of that.
Did. Fortunately.
So we'd have to kill him first.
Sure.
Again.
Re-kill. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of something that I'd be confident enough to write in the book that one won't, end the world, and two will give us an actual useful answer.
I'm more worried about not getting a useful answer at this point.
Yeah.
We do have like unlimited use of it, so even
I
if we
know.
don't,
It's weird. I'm fighting the urge to like want to spam 20 questions at it. Is it big? Is Laralac bigger than a bread box? Is
Are you
Is
really
it
the guy who
orange?
owns the Cookie Mart?
Is Cornelius Adram is useless? Yes or no? Yeah. I think we have to look up more about dude who's still alive, whose name I keep forgetting. Hammond?
Alec Ray Hammond, yeah.
what if just
It's either that or we invite Thaddeus, but I suspect we may need to ring the bell and get some food before we do that.
Ooh, yeah. Yep.
Did you carry the bell with you, or did you leave it on the?
No,
I
I don't.
I
I
didn't
think
Yeah.
you just invoked the name, right?
No,
So
we
yell
rang
out, I'm
the
gotta ring
hungry.
the bell. You gotta ring the
That's
bell.
right.
Oh, you gotta ring the bell.
We did not take the bell with us. We are fools.
The
So that's a
name is
hike.
for Tavros, the library assistant.
Yeah.
We can ask Tavros to bring us the bell.
I don't. I mean, I don't know how they'd take it, but I could summon a servant to go get the bell for us. I don't know if they'd take kindly to a literal wave making its way through the.
We could ask our
library.
friend how he summons food from down here when he's hungry.
Oh, yeah, maybe he's got a bell.
The cleaners might try to clean up the servant.
And I could send Otto to fly back and get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Otto actually knows the way.
Yeah. All right, I'll have Otto fly back and retrieve the bell and bring it back here.
Otto can't get through the door out of the maze.
Oh, bugger.
That's why I was thinking of the water servant, because as long as there's a crack somewhere that water can pass.
We'll start by we'll just ask how he eats when he's hungry. How does he summon food?
Makodum?
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, I go into one of the resting lounges."
And there's a bell there?
No. Well, follow me.
Okay.
He leads you down some passageways, and you get to a plush room furnished in dark woods, lavish tapestries, comfortable seating areas with plush pillows, and a faint whiff of like it's called desil root. It's almost like a combination of tobacco and like clove. It's like the tobacco of this setting basically, but it has a very sweet smell. And in the middle of the room is a table that's like a buffet table, and it just has like treats all over it.
Oh my god.
I may never leave this place.
I mean, he's not going to complain about anything in this room.
So let's stop there, and I'll let you think about what you might want to do
Yeah.
next time.
We let the goat out so he can like munch on things for a couple of weeks.
So he can eat
until
for a
we get
couple of
back.
weeks.
Read all the books.
Yeah. So speaking of next time, what
Yeah.
date?
Well, so let's round this up and say goodbye, and then we can talk about the
Oh,
date after.
okay.
So thank you for listening, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at DnDeBrief@gmail.com. That's DnDeBrief at gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are on the screen, and you can, if you want to be so kind, you can go follow Midgardia, patreon.com/Midgardia, which is where Karu hosts all of her awesome content. And other than that, thank you so much for listening/watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Night.